In this video, we're going to talk about the Scorched being unleashed, and they are broken away from Jason Wynn's control, and this is where the story takes place after that, so get ready for an exciting ride. Alrighty then, this is a comic book breakdown of the Scorched, issues number 33 to 38, the full story arc breakdown, brought to you by RatedComics. Now before we get into the content, link in description if you wish to add this comic book and or any of our other limited print Rated Comic exclusives to add to your comic book collection. Support the art, support the industry. Also, timestamps will be in description if you wish to go from issue to issue. And also, if you like the content we're throwing out, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. So with all that being said, hey, let's get into the content. So previously in The Scorched, Jessica leaves the battle with her old team gravely injured, having failed her mission, but her sacrifices have gained her Jason Wynn's trust. In the previous issue, Jessica Priest did try to go to work on her previous team, The Scorched, but they laid the work on her. Jason Wynn saw that she valiantly defended herself and the team, and the cause, so that might have earned this trust. But now we go into this issue. You see that haunt creature right there? That's not Hunt that we know of. That is a female Hunt, and we don't know what it is, but we get a little backstory with it. Her bioscans register almost negligible life signs, and she'd been completely inert since her capture all those months ago. So the scientists declare that this Hunt creature is dead. So getting any biological answers to this thing's DNA and makeup is now all they have left. So they take her to the surgical wing in the lower levels of the agency, a recently reformed government black ops organization dedicated to dealing with supernatural threats. Traditional thinking has taught us that as one life fades away, our life flashes before our eyes. But for this Hunt, the only thing it saw flashing before its eyes was death. The death it caused. So deaths that fed it, and the deaths that triggered its rebirth. But before we can go back to its rebirth, we got to go back a little bit. A little flashback here. So Sophia Swan wanted to be a nurse because she saw so much bad in the world, so much hurt, and she thought she could help make the world a better place. But much of her time was occupied saving people who didn't deserve saving, just like this guy in the hospital bed who was a mafioso or some kind of mafia, and he was the cause of a dozen dead bodies, including 3 innocent bystanders. So Nurse Swan determined that to make a world a better place, a little bad was the best way to do good. The first time was the hardest one for her, but it got easier each time she administered her justice. Easier and easier. The lace drug Dwayne Hoover sold killed 18 people. The cancer drug at the pharmaceutical company Rebecca Holmes ran was utterly ineffective. She marketed the drug to tens of thousands of nonetheless. And a dirty cop was Wesley Starbuck. I don't know why his name gotta be Starbuck, because he looked nothing like a Starbucks at all, but he was a crook at that time. Unless they're implying that Starbucks are crooks, which, hey, I do like coffee, man, come on. But Officer Starbuck was a bully as well as a bastard, and he wouldn't go down without a fight. So 24 kills and nothing like this has ever happened to Nancy Swain. But what came after was more unexpected, as some unforeseen side effect created some supernatural fallout. Like that right here. So that incident prevented Nurse Swain from making her usual quiet getaway, as Sam and Twitch go in and they've been searching for this angel of justice killer for months. Now Detective Burke and Williams were able to catch her in the act, so they asked her to show her her hands. But something unexpected happened. As a newfound ghost inexplicably swallowed its human host, merging her soul with its spirit, combining the two into one, and they don't know if they should shoot her or not. But years later, a similar creature would appear born of a similar merger of one dead soul and one alive. That's Kurt and Matthew Kilgore. Their creature will be given the name Hunt. If you watch the Hunt review on this channel, that's how it happened. We see the origins of that. So even 2 direct hits to the back didn't slow this version down. She jumps out the window, and all Sam and Twitch could think about is it feels like it's connected to Spawn and Rat City, and they're screwed. But whatever this thing is, its vitals suggest that this was once a human. That's what the doctors figure out in the agency. So though and why it transformed into this, they need to find out. But the doctors should have turned their backs on this thing, because they have seen that despite the monitors and readings, the Hunt creature had never been truly dead. At first, it killed the people who deserved it. Then it simply thrived on any kind of slaughter, killing everyone. Eventually though, the Hunt realized it wasn't killing bad guys that drove it, it was simply fixated on death itself. And its actions began to draw the attentions of others, one of Spawn. And this was back when Spawn just became Spawn, like 5 years after his death. He was still trying to sort out who all the players were in this hideous game of war. So Spawn tells this haunt creature, female haunt, to back away and face me. I'm getting tired of us humans having to deal with people like you every other day. So Spawn was trying to figure out who were enemies and who were friends, but clearly this creature was an enemy, and it was eminently clear. So the question for Spawn was, how could he defeat it, and if he could win? And were there more like this one? Instinctively, they sensed one another's powers, forcing both to fight with savagery. Both knew that losing that night would send the wrong message to those from a distance who were watching the war unfolding across Earth. So this happened at a time when Spawn was still learning his powers, when Al Simmons had not discovered the full range of his abilities. But over time, constant attacks from beings like this helped Spawn hone the supernatural abilities he'd been given. He never saw the creature again, presuming he killed it. So the police arrived after Spawn left, followed by a federal covert group called the Agency, which took control. And Sam wasn't having it, but they put authority rank on him. So the Agency took the creature away for safekeeping and muzzled other authorities from talking about it. Years later, when Jason Wynn took charge of the Agency, he designed a plan to control it and to potentially weaponize it. At least that was a plan until it wasn't. To this day, no one understands how it survived, but it did. It took nearly 40 minutes for Wynn's troops to neutralize the threat. Using every means possible at her disposal, they've been ordered to take the creature alive, which eventually they did, but not before a dozen men were lost. In the subsequent months, many of the enlisted retired, angered that their superiors had so casually led the men into slaughter. They just didn't disregard their lives. It's a rift that still exists in that building today. So the creature, now very much alive, was returned to its confinement, where it would patiently wait while its hunger grew. Then not long from now, it will learn it's not the only haunt on Earth. That knowledge gave the creature a new purpose: to escape, find the other haunt, then take every ounce of that target's power away. And that is the end of Jessica Priest's trust earned, scarred, but victorious? I mean, we don't know. This is kind of a filler issue here, but that is the end. What you guys think of the comic book? Comment below, let me know. In this video, we're going to talk about Hunt Unleashed, a supernatural fugitive on the hunt. You'll see what I mean later on. Alrighty then, this is a comic book review of The Scorched, issue number 34, brought to you by RatedComics. Let's get to it. So previously in The Scorched, a new haunt has appeared and broken loose from the custody of the Agency. She is now on the hunt. Oh Lord, so I don't know why I did that, but anyways, let's take it forward over here. Let's get into the content, man. I'm over here acting silly. So springtime in New York City, the woman walking down the street captures the eyes of everyone she passes. She's not a person who normally wants to attract attention, but in this case, standing out is the best way to avoid standing out. Initially, that didn't make no damn sense to me, but the reason why it makes sense is because no one expects her to look like this, and that is Jessica Priest asking Mark Rosen if she can join, and Mark is like, okay, yeah, make yourself comfortable. But Mark doesn't realize that it's his friend, his fellow Scorched partner, Jessica Priest, looking fine. And I see that why that disguise makes the most sense now. She can't look like Jessica Priest. She has to look a little bit extra, if you get my guess, you know, if you get my drift. So she tells him it's a disguise, Rosen, in case either of us are killed. Now put your eyes back in your head, we need to talk. And he's like, well, you looking fine, girl. That's not relevant right now, Mark. I mean, Mark is like, look, I mean, you look recovered after what Hunt did to you in China. And that's going back to The Scorched, issue 32, a couple issues back, when you get a glimpse of that. Yeah, that's exactly what Hunt did to her. But you can check out the issue, the review we did, to get more context of it. So Jessica Priest is like, look, the Agency has some talented doctors when they repaired me, but be sure to tell Kilgore I won't forget the scars he gave me. That who is the Hunt, Daniel Kilgore. And Mark is like, but that was your idea? You told him to make it look real? Did it work? She's like, yeah, it works. I mean, Wynn trusts me now. He upped my Agency security clearance, so I almost have full access to the place. Well, what about the explosives that he had planted in you, said Mark. Well, they're disabled. Hunt managed to hit each and every one of them while making it look like he was trying to kill me. So look, Mark, says Jessica, I told you I'd find out what happened to Medieval. Now I'm in a position to do so, but I need to warn you. about what's coming. And what's coming is she gets into that story. She hadn't been cleared for the active duty by the agency doctors because she was still recovering from those injuries caused by a hunt that she ordered him to do. So she did some off-hour investigating on their various operations when an alarm went off. Remember the female haunt they put Redeemer and Haunt next to? That's what Jessica was talking about, and that's going back to the Scorched issue number 30. They had made a hairline crack in her containment tube when escaping from the agency. No one noticed it at first, but that's what allowed her to escape. They sent a small army to put her down. She carved through them like they weren't even there. Nothing they threw at her even slowed her down in the slightest, even herself included, Jessica Priest. Currently being powerless, she wasn't about to go on a suicide mission, especially since the last time she tangled with the haunt, she ended up with surgery for over 6 hours, and that haunt was her friend. This one is definitely not her friend, so Jessica Priest had two choices, and only one of them made sense: fight or flight. Which one do you think she did? And Jessica Priest tells Mark, that's one of the reasons why I'm talking to you today, Mark. According to its bio readings, this thing was in an almost constant state of agitation since it was put in proximity to Kilgore. But now that it's loose, it's going to be coming for him and the Scorched. So that's why I'm warning you, and I have to head back to the agency HQ before I miss. So tell the team to watch their backs because Wynn is still looking for payback. And Jessica Priest leaves Mark with these parting words like, you still look like crap, so get your life together. And Mark's like, girl, I'm trying, but the longer Medieval's out of my head, the worse I'm getting. And for so long I wanted him out of my head, but now the emptiness in my head, I think is slowly driving me crazy. So that's where we end off with that. So Mark Rosen never asked for this life. Now it seems he can't live without it. A life of loneliness without family or real friends, with lethal threats around every corner. She can relate to that. And she didn't ask for this life either, but what's done is done. Every day she's a potential target while somebody is stalking her. If the agency is following her, she'll need to eliminate them before they can report back in. Even without powers, she can be lethal. But she's not the most lethal. And that's Spawn right there because he holds that title. And Spawn's just like, girl, you need to react faster than that next time you're dealing with me, bruh. Because they won't be sending someone solo to get you. And Jessica Priest is like, I'm a big girl, bruh. Then why was I able to track you? And she has an answer that does make sense. Because you're you and they're not. So Jessica Priest is like, what do you want, Simmons? I heard you've been having some vampire problems, and that is in the most recent Spawn issues. You gotta check those out, which we do cover on this channel, by the way. And Spawn's like, yeah, I have been having some vampire problems, but I'm not the one getting bombs implanted into me and getting forced to work for Jason Wynn. How's that working for you? And she's like, boo, it's been handled. And you keep calling me boo one more time, somebody about to get pregnant. Anyways, I digress. So Spawn is like, I know you, Jessica. You're playing angles. Why? It's an end game. I'm getting out. Spawn's like, come on, man, this again? Yes, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of being a foot soldier in your damn war. I'm gonna help Rosen get Medieval Spawn back because I made a promise. Then I'm gone. And Spawn's like, it doesn't work that way, baby girl. The enemy doesn't give a shit what you want. You're their enemy. Nothing you do is ever gonna change it. So what's this really about? And Jessica Priest has that smirk in her face like, I'm gonna kill Wynn. I want my life back. Well, it's not that simple, says Spawn. And before they can go on to this dialogue, we get these homeless gangster brothers like, well, what do we have here? Some kinky stinky is going on. They approach from both sides. Don't matter, we'll take your wallet, dude, maybe the girl too. That ain't a maybe, that's a definite. But that's if they can handle that. But Spawn and Jessica don't say a word, but with a single glance, they know exactly what to do. They know the assignment, and what aggravates them the most is that they have to waste even 9 seconds taking down these people right here. It's a waste of time, but it's 9 seconds, so what you gotta do? So while we admire Spawn's chunkums and Jessica Priest's feet, I wanna take the time to say that this video is sponsored by coffee. If you'd like to buy a boy a cup of coffee, link in the description or donate to the Super Thanks because I do these reviews early in the morning before I take my kids to school. But the greatest compliment you guys can do is by liking this video and subscribing to this channel. But with all that being said, let's get back into the content. So they know they have to get out of there after taking care of business. But Spawn tells her, don't know if you can pull it off, but before you kill Jason Wynn, tell him I said hi. And Jessica Priest is like, oh, I'll do just that. So back at the home Scorched base, there was a time when Mark Rosen would look in the mirror and catch a glimpse of John of York, the man who came to be known as Medieval Spawn. Now he sees nothing. He feels nothing. He's desperate though to feel something, anything. Once again, losing medieval spawn is bringing bro crazy, and bro is just bringing about the crazy on this mirror as he bashes his head in like crazy would do that. But the thing is, he's gonna try to do that or die trying to find something to feel something. And the Scorched just look at him like that, all while the case of this new hunt is unleashed and she is a supernatural fugitive on the hunt for them. And Mark is dealing with that bull jive right now, and they gotta deal with that bull jive. But that is the end of The Scorched, issue number 34. Alright, so previously in The Scorched, Jessica's plan comes to fruition as she plans her exit from the agency because she's under Jason Wynn's control, at least not anymore, but she has to find a way to exit while still retaining her life. So we start off in a flashback. It's a prologue 200 years ago, deep below the Vatican, in a chamber unknown to the elders of the church. A spell was complete. A summons was cast. And from somewhere in the dark void of time, this was one of the earliest times the medieval spawn knew arcane forces would forever be trying to control his destiny. A hell spawn was conjured up and brought forth. So when medieval spawn comes up, the elders and the priests ask, what type of savior did we summon? It's a hell spawn, a soldier, a servant of the demon lord Malbosia. Judging by these vestments, this hell spawn was first recorded hundreds of years ago, once known as John of York, missing now for more than 3 centuries. And medieval spawn, because John of York, that was his original name, that's his first name before, Mark Rosen got took over by medieval spawn, but we still have that story to talk about. So medieval spawn wonders, what hearsay have you committed? And for the last thing he remembered was assisting some witch maiden, and that was in the medieval spawn Witchblade miniseries. So in the end, a mystical doorway swallowed him whole, and one of the elders is like, you are where fate has beckoned you, where you will serve under our control and command, and what powers you possess is ours now and forever. And that is the end of the prologue. So yesterday we go back to how a couple issues back in The Scorched, we end off in Mark Rosen losing himself, going cray because, well, medieval spawn are more connected than we believe they are. So he keeps losing his stuff. He's been living with the spirit of medieval spawn in his head, and nobody knew how Rosen swore he wanted nothing more than to get rid of it. But when medieval disappeared, Rosen discovered just how connected they really are, that this played with his mental state. And he even goes and tries to attack Overkill, and Overkill is like, you little piece of poo-poo, and he does the Hulk smash without even physically hitting him, but that shockwave is enough to send him back, and it was lucky enough that Mark didn't get killed by that shockwave. And Redeemer's like, okay, that's enough, Overkill, and Overkill's like, get him a jacket next time, because next time I will break his neck. So today, back at the agency headquarters, now Jessica has to alter her plans and accelerate her timeline to get out, and she's so close to getting out permanently, but she has to play the part. And these guards are like, what are you doing? Security protocols have been enhanced, so you'll need to do a clearance check. So she does that clearance check because she has full security access, because she has the trust of Jason Wynn, because he still thinks Jessica Priest still has the bomb implanted in her head. But we later figure out what really happened here, and we know from a couple issues back it's really not the case, but she played the part and she's earned his trust. So she proceeds inside the executive information archive. This place is off limits to everyone except those with the highest security clearance. This is where Jason Wynn keeps every one of his dirty secrets, though if she's wrong, she's dead. But if anyone knows what happened to medieval spawn, it's Jason Wynn, according to Jessica Priest. If he does know and isn't doing anything about it, it means he's satisfied that wherever medieval is, he no longer poses a threat. And we do miss medieval spawn, we want his ass back. But eventually she finds what she's looking for, something called the Black Brotherhood. So she covered her digital footprint, took the intel, then headed back to continue her deception. That would give her the end game, her out, her escape to this life, tortured life controlled by Jason Wynn. But hey, Bishop's like, not so fast, as a Caprice. He lays them hands on her, and Bishop confirms with Agent Lynn, what are my orders? Deliver her to Director Wynn and report her betrayal after you teach her a lesson. And Bishop's like, oh, with indeed I will. And he throws her back and stomps on her. Now, before we go any further this issue, as Bishop is laying them hands on Jessica Priest, Just want to let y'all know this video is sponsored by coffee. So if you'd like to buy a boy a cup of coffee, link in description, or donate to the super thanks. But the greatest compliment you guys can do is by liking this video and subscribing to Rated Comics YouTube channel. And also don't forget to check out RatedComics.com for some really cool limited print Rated Comic exclusives to add to your comic book collection. I'll put some of the comic books here on YouTube that you guys can check out. And also, if you purchase more than 50 bucks on RatedComics.com, free shipping, baby. But with all that being said, let's get back into the content. So Bish is like, what's the matter, Jessica? Are you afraid to fight back? That's disappointing, but don't worry, I won't kill you. Those bombs, when implanted both of our heads, they're connected. So if you die, I die. But you're gonna wish you were dead when I'm done with you. And Jessica Priest is like, bruh. Back up. You're a fool, Bishop. Overconfident and short-sighted. It's what allowed me to kill you the first time. It'll be what allows me to kill you again. And Lynn's like, I'm tired of hearing all this stuff. You better end her job, do your job, or I'll do the job for you, Bishop. And Bishop's like, man, stay up out of the business. And now, if he was paying attention to Director Lynn, she bleeds black. He would know that's the Viscerator, the Violator sister, underneath in that disguise, but he's all up in Jessica Priest's ass. He can't see what's in front of him. So he thinks he can handle her on her own, and Jessica Priest is like, wrong, because the bomb is only active in you, Bishop. Han's attack on me during the mission in China was actually surgery, and that's a reference to The Scorched issue number 32. The bomb detonates on your death. I'll be just fine, but not you, Bishop. You feel that pressure point? That means you're paralyzed. And it'll only last about a minute, but it stops your heartbeat for 5 seconds. Enough for the bombs to think you're dead. And then that explosion, that glorious massacre right there just happens right there. And Jessica Priest walks away, and Director Lynn's initially shocked about it. So Jessica Priest walks away gangster style, like, I told you I'll kill you a second time, and I like to keep my promises, bruh. So later she goes back to the Scorched headquarters, and Frank, Redeemer, Overkill, like, She Spawn, what are you doing here? And She Spawn's like, later. Right now, pack your stuff and grab Rose, and he's coming too. We're going to Italy to get Medieval Spawn back. So later, still at the Agency Executive Information Archive, these janitors have to clean up the mess, and they always wonder why they gotta do that, but hey, they'd rather clean up that mess than go back to Alaska and clean up the other mess. So this janitor is like, I think this lady's alive, and Director Lynn is, and she's also tired of playing the role of Jason Wynn's flunky, tired of wearing this disgusting human meat suit, and she transforms herself into the Viscerator, and she's tired of waiting for revenge. She Spawn did the work for her. She located Medieval Spawn, and she wants revenge on Medieval Spawn. But before she rescues him, the Viscerator will turn this agency into a massacre. And that is Jason Wynn's last stand. Is this the end of the Scorched? Because the Viscerator seems to have full powers, at least, but we will find out. And the Scorched, I love how they have to revisit that, because we want to see some clapbacks and some fighting happen. But that is the end of this video of The Scorched, issue number 35. What you guys think of this comic book? Comment below, let me know. So previously in The Scorched, after escaping her employment with the agency, Jessica and the Scorched seek to save Medieval Spawn. So we go back to now, Kilgore knew the risk, and this is a monologue of Jessica Priest. This was mostly his idea to go into the Vatican in Italy with a bang. They didn't want to go quiet, they wanted to go loud, but it was unanimous with that vote. And Jessica's like, I can't mind it all because I was cooped up unwillingly working for Jason Wynn in the agency. Now that she's free, she wants to go ham. But we see the Han's ectoplasm suit on the ground as his officer points to it. So how did we get there? So before we could go there, we got to go back a little bit. So we go back to 2 hours ago, and the Scorched and team are back at it again. The first wave of resistance came from the Black Brotherhood. That's what she mentioned where Medieval Spawn was at. It was held captive by the Black Brotherhood, and they want to go to work. So Jessica Priest tells him, hand over Medieval Spawn now. And Redeemer's like, oh, don't you dare give them another option or else, because they want that smoke. They need that smoke, and they got that smoke. So what happened next was the obvious part. The Vatican was one of the largest well-armed security forces in the world. They had let the Black Brotherhood and outside enforcement group had clawed its way deep into the Vatican's hierarchy. Their government and the mafia, that's who protected them. So she knew they weren't going to hand over anything to them. And boom, they let that smoke begin, and they were looking for all that. That was fine with them, and they don't mind the smoke. So they were all wound up pretty tight at the moment, going to work on them fools. It's been a rotten few months for Jessica, and it's been a rotten few months for them.
And what made it worse was the loss of their powers in Spawn issue 350, except for Haunt, because he's not really heaven or hell, he's something in between, so Green World really don't affect him like that. But Jessica Priest was the one that was wound up the tightest. Now, if this was going to be her suicide mission Overkill thought it was, so what? She come to accept that. Whenever she was back to take her last breath on the battlefield somewhere, this is how she wanted it, because she'll never get out of this life. None of them will, as this machine just goes in on Jessica, this Vatican looking Overkill thing. And if that's true, she might as well take as many bastards with them as she possibly can. So we gotta go back a little bit earlier in one of Al Simmons' stash houses. Did I say stash house? I meant safe house, my bad. So Jessica Priest regroups her team. Daniel, before he turns into Hunt, drugs Mark Rosen so he doesn't get all emotional, and you know, they don't want to undrug him or take him off the drug until Medieval Spawn is back in the picture. So Overkill's like, so you're gonna drug him so he can reunite with Medieval Spawn? None of you have any idea what we're up against, huh? Do you? Back when I was in the Bob, there was one organization you didn't mess with, La Fratellanza Nera, the Black Brotherhood. And Redeemer's like, you sound like you want to back out. No, but why should I die for this? I don't owe any of you anything. Yay! I don't know why I did the Arnold to it. It's just, maybe I had to wake myself up because that is always cracking me up. So Redeemer is like, you're right, but you owe Mark this because he's the one who rebuilt you. And Overkill's like, yo, you better get that sword out my face before I stick it somewhere. And Daniel's like, okay, She-Spawn talked some sense into these brothers because I can't. And she's looking over Mark like, damn you, Mark, I was going to be out this mission. I was going to be out. I was going to be done with and spend some time with my daughter, but I never should have made that promise to help you. And even though there's no editorial notes on that she's referencing in the Scorched issue number 34 when she made Spawn that promise. And Daniel's like, Jessica, come on, listen, I think I might have an idea that can help us. So Daniel calls his brother Kurt and tells him I need you, and Kurt's spirit's like, what's up, brother? What you need from me? Thanks for coming, but there's something we need to do, something that's going to be painful. And that something is involved with the beginning of the issue when we saw the ectoplasm suit just lying on the ground. But we'll find out how we get there. So we go back to the fight, and this Overkill Vatican looking machine is about to lay them haymakers on Jessica, but Overkill goes him, tackles his ass, and gets him out the picture. It's almost like Jessica Priest, like she wanted to die in that moment right there, but not gonna happen. So Haunt tells her, get your head in the game, She-Spawn. Whatever issues you're having, work them out later. It's game on right now. And She-Spawn's like, well, damn. I remember the way he charged at them like he had some kind of death wish. In hindsight, maybe he did, because maybe she's thinking that she had that death wish. Maybe Haunt does too. So an explosion happens, and they all go back like chiropract, getting their backs blown out from the explosion, that is. So Redeemer's like, that came from above, and Haunt is like, oh, that must be the ones that Overkill was talking about, the Black Brotherhood. And Haunt's like, I'll take care of this. And She-Spawn's like, nah, Haunt, get out of the line of fire. So they shoot, and we get that glorious explosion again. So meanwhile, we see Haunt's ectoplasm suit right there. Jessica's like, did you see Daniel? Where is he? Because that's the host of that suit. And Redeemer's like, no, we don't have time to search. We got to get our asses out of the line of fire before they spot us. So they leave, and the group makes their strategic retreat. And VICERATOR is on their tail because she wants that revenge with Medieval Spawn. But in order for her to get that, she has to make sure that they find it. So she's over there in the shadows like, clever. She's being very clever. And while she may have the Brotherhood fooled, I know exactly what she's up to. So Daniel emerges later on. Sun's rising, probably the next day or so, and he's like, well, I think they bought it. And Kurt's like, yep, I think they bought it too. So Daniel's like, She-Spawn sold it pretty well, so now let's see if they buy it. And Kurt's like, you've taken a big chance leaving that much of the Hanzo behind. You know we won't be at full power for the rest of this, right? And Daniel's like, we'll deal with that when we have to. Right now, we need to section off a space and fortify it to have some place to fall back to. So can you do some recon work for me and let me know exactly where we should go? Kurt does that recon work. They move the art. They go down those stairs. And Kurt's like, how long do you plan on letting Jessica Priest be entailed by the Black Brotherhood, you know? And Daniel's like, as long as it takes. Let her lead them on the wild good chase. And while the Brotherhood chase after her, nobody be watching this place. And that leaves us time to find an unguarded Sir John of York. medieval Spawn. So they found the brother. Now we need to know what's next, because that is the end of the Scorched. Issue number 36, the Scorch's deadliest mission yet, because they're doing this fight with no damn powers. That's why it's deadly. Maybe a little clickbait, but you watched. Haha, kidding. Thank you for watching this comic book review of Rated Comics of the Scorched, issue number 36. What you guys think of the comic book? Comment below, let me know.
Previously on the Scorched team makes a daring assault on the Vatican in order to rescue medieval Spawn. And this is where they kind of fell into this trap right here. Now we begin this issue as Jessica Priest is laying there with her arm just cut off and she's just draining blood. And we begin this story of the Scorched with the Hell on Earth is Coming storyline. What does that mean? What does that end to? That's all we get from here. But this is the story of two priests. One who's soon to be dead, Jessica Priest, known as She-Spawn, and the other who's dead on the inside and for a very long time. And that already dead man is Father Kilgore. He was once a father, but he wasn't a father through like the casualty of going to like theology school, becoming a priest like that. He was a father as part of a casualty of booze, women, and a general lack of faith. So he's standing over Jessica Priest like, okay, I gotta pray over you or something. And she's like, just do it, all right? So Father Kilgore is like, I didn't take you for a believer. And Jessica Priest like, well, I haven't been for a long time, but given the way how things are, given the way that I've seen, I'm not willing to rule anything else, so do your thing. And Father Kilgore is like, but you work for the other side. No, I work against heaven, not God. It sounds poetic, but okay, we're gonna go with that for the sake of the story. So she tells Father Kilgore to please hurry up and say the prayers for the others too, if it's not too late. Now, who are the others that Jessica Priest is talking about? The others are Redeemer, who may still be breathing, but like Jessica, it won't be for long. And Overkill, if he's not beyond repair, he sure is. So we're looking at all this travesty right here, all because Father Kilgore found medieval Spawn in the last issue, but who's the real enemy? They fell right into this trap, but how did we get there? Now we see the VICERATOR like, you're wasting time, Kilgore. Deliver your final prayers and make sure to say one for yourself, holy man, because you're next in line. Well, now we know who did it, but we knew that from the last issue because she was following them around. She wanted them to lead her to medieval Spawn, which they did because medieval Spawn is her enemy. So that's what Father Kilgore exactly did. He prayed, also remembering who he used to be, the things he used to believe in. He tried his best to believe those things once more, delivering the last rites for his teammates, but also a prayer for deliverance, a prayer for redemption, asking for the impossible, given all that he knew about heaven's true purpose. But he asked anyway, because that's what you do when you pray to God. You ask for a miracle, you ask for a blessing, and he's sweating profusely, showing his faith. After he asked God for a miracle, what do we get? Well, the great irony is, a few hours earlier, we're going to get a little flashback before we go a little forward here. A few hours earlier, he faked his own death, or at least that of his alter ego Haunt, an entity with which he shared the soul of his dead brother. He made it look like that he was killed at the hands of the sect of Black Brotherhood, and that was talking about the last issue, so we're just picking up the events of the last issue. And while his teammates were lured them away from the Black Brotherhood, he infiltrated their base to free another teammate, medieval Spawn, and that's where we pick off with the end of last issue going into now. But unfortunately, he walked into a trap, said Cardinal Vignola. I probably didn't even say that name because that's Italian, but he's the leader of the Black Brotherhood. He'd been alive for a very long time. Wealth and power, that's what the Black Brotherhood is all about. And the Black Brotherhood is part of the church, but they don't serve heaven or hell. They just serve themselves, and they align themselves with who or whatever would help them achieve their goals. And when Daniel summons his brother Kurt, like, let's fight these fools now, he left off a lot of Hunt ectoplasm in the last issue, so he doesn't have enough to fight him. And Cardinal's like, you can't. Your Hunt form is too damaged from the ruse to get here. You can't even control your own brother. That's right, I know all about you, Hunt, all about your team as well. Director Wynn was more than happy to give me that information. It ensured your teammates would be walking right into this trap. Your team's arrogance underestimated the Black Brotherhood's magic, so they all wonder what's happening because they're all of a sudden Overkill, Redeemer, and Jessica Priest just appear. So they want to know what the heck is happening right now.
And Daniel knows what's up. The Brotherhood teleported you here because Wynn set us up. No, says VICERATOR, not just Wynn lurking in the shadows. I've been in the shadows too, making sure to pull all the right strings that you humans always fall for. You're emotionally driven creatures whose biggest flaw is thinking you're beings of intellect. So I do appreciate you leading me here to medieval Spawn. So Vignola's like, okay, they serve their purpose, VICERATOR. I'll leave you to them. If you need me, I'll be in the operating room with Mark Rosen's brain, all right? So it didn't start off as a massacre because they throw hands, but because all their powers were mostly diminished, it quickly became evident that they were defenseless and overmatched and severely outnumbered as Overkill gets mollywopped and just decked and jumped. They were hoping that one of them could find an advantage, but that was completely foolish, and Redeemer just gets slammed to the ground so hard that his spine cracks. And VICERATOR goes to She-Spawn like, that snapping sound, you heard that? It was your colleague's spine breaking, just rubbing salt to the wound. His death will be quick, and She-Spawn knows that they lost. And VICERATOR's like, baby girl, beg all you want. It will change nothing, and slices her arm clean off. Now we're gonna get that visual right here of our girl, because all I want to say is take a quick moment to say this video is sponsored by coffee. So if you'd like to buy a boy a cup of coffee, link in description, or donate to the super thanks. And also don't forget to check out RatedComics.com for some really cool limited print Rated Comics exclusives to add to your comic book collection. Support the art, support the industry. With all that being said, let's get right back into the content. So She-Spawn knows that she's lost, and she tells VICERATOR to stop. You win, we yield. We're all yours. At that moment, Daniel didn't know Jessica knew something that they didn't, but he was just like, why yielding? We never give up like that. And VICERATOR's like, there is no yield. I take no prisoners. Either I die or you do. That's how this ends. Then you've won, says She-Spawn, because I'll soon be dead. And VICERATOR claps back like, yeah, soon all of you will be. Well then, let me get my last right, says She-Spawn. VICERATOR's like, I don't give a damn about your religious beliefs. Ain't no rights around here. But the other members of the Black Hood's like, no, but we do. We're still part of the church, and we're built on ceremony and ritual. We must honor her request. So Kilgore is summoned, and VICERATOR's like, okay, fine, let the man do his prayers. Let the priest do his priesty, because after that, they all belong to me. And Daniel Kilgore tried to be as convincing as he possibly could, but he knew deep down that it was all an act, that his prayers were just filled with hollow words, and he stopped believing in that power long ago, even before he's been transformed. But it's for the sake of his team, and so he has to do something, and VICERATOR's like, are you done, priest? Because the other priest, Jessica Priest, looks pretty close to her end. Knowing deep down that some things were impossible, that there was no such thing, guess what? As he's praying, a miracle happens. Jessica got her arm reattached. Redeemer healed his wings. And Daniel Kilgore is like, how is this even possible? Well, the editorial notes say, see Spawn 360 and 361 for details. As of now of the recording of this video, we did cover Spawn issue 360, so we get a glimpse of that. But until Spawn 361 comes out, we don't know how the whole complete story of how this transpired. But Daniel Kilgore still doesn't know how it happened. None of us do, not even us watching this video as of the time of this recording. But it didn't matter. But what happened is that they were all made whole again, and they were all themselves. Redeemer's like, we're back, our powers are back. And She-Spawn's like, oh yeah, we're alive, which means very soon our enemies will not be. So even though initially the Scorched was betrayed, who is the real enemy here? Because even though Jason Wynn led them into that trap, what the heck is happening with all their powers coming back? And how does this tie in with the hell on earth that is allegedly coming? Or not allegedly, it is going to come. And you're not going to put it on the cover of a comic book if you're not going to deliver on that. But that is the end of The Scorched, issue number 37. So previously in The Scorched, Jessica and the team are beaten, bloodied, and dying on the ground. Only a miracle can save them. But before we can go forward, we got to go back a little bit and get a little flashback of Jessica Priest. During that time when the Scorched and team and everyone from heaven and hell had no powers, this is what it meant to Jessica. More than anything, she wanted to live a normal life. No killing, no powers, and no enemies trying to hunt her down. Just a boring, simple existence where she could focus and take care of her little girl, her daughter, spend some quality time with her. But Al Simmons warned her that once they were in this life, there was no going back. Losing her powers recently got her no closer to the life she wanted. And now, thanks to this group of assholes and a bunch of dark wizards known as the Black Brotherhood, she's gonna enjoy making these mofos pay for what they did to her. And now that her powers are back, she didn't want them back, but now they are there, she is pissed. And she's also betting that Redeemer feels the exact same way, because when he gets pissed, his enemies, their enemies, everyone's enemies that he finds his enemies, usually dies. The weird thing is, after fighting at his side all this time, she doesn't even know his name. But she knows one thing, and one thing is clear: she's glad he's on their side. So as this fight goes on, she spawns like, yo, Kilgore, we gotta take out the Black Brotherhood. You free medieval Spawn. And Kilgore's like, okay, I'm human, all of my hunt ectoplasm is gone. I don't even know how to free the brother right now. But for Jessica Priest, she's got her own complication to solve. And Viscera is like, come heroes, I've been patiently waiting for all of you. To kill medieval Spawn will be thrilling, but to kill his friends first, before his eyes, that'll be all the more satisfying, more pleasurable, as she morphs and transforms into more of an abomination. And this is the Viscerator. She is the sister to the Clown, to the Violator, an arch enemy of medieval Spawn. And Viscera is like, yes, I've been holding back, observing, testing you, but no more. I got to go viscerating style right now. But before we can see the Viscerate, and the Scorched, not too far away we see where Mark Rosen is at, because in the previous issue he was captured by the Brotherhood, and now they seem to unleash his plans, or they want to tell him what's going on. So they tell him, unfortunate for you, considering what I had planned for you, I am the Katana Vignola, the Supreme High Priest, the Lord Imperator of the Black Brotherhood. And Mark is like, you guys are just crazy, you guys are insane. And of course, in their mind, they're going to tell Mark, it's strange for those to comprehend and distort our reality because you just can't understand it, but it's your own failures that have led you to this, alright? And that's why we need to open your skull. We can't have you escaping again. And that is a key word, again. And Mark catches that too. What do you mean by that? What do you mean again? The High Priest is like, look, there's something special about you. Special enough that John of York, medieval Spawn, is able to access your consciousness to hide from us within your brain space. I don't expect to find my answers, and if not, you'll be eliminated. Then where will medieval Spawn's aura retreat to? Medieval Spawn occupies your consciousness, yet you do not share the same thoughts with him. Perhaps York thought that separation would help conceal him, but it won't though. I suppose there's no harm in telling you a secret that you can take to your grave. Medieval Spawn, he is unlike all the other hell spawns, nor is our brotherhood like other religions. We are aware between the war between heaven and hell, but we don't care about that. We don't want no part of that. We just simply want their power. And medieval is the means to achieving that power. We spent decades formulating our plan to capture him. Once imprisoned, we kept him alive far beyond his supernatural lifespan, so we can siphon his energies indefinitely. But we got complacent, and your friend, John of York, mysteriously disappeared. Our search for him came to fruition when he appeared here in your time, battling the most recent Spawn incarnation. And he's referencing in Spawn issue number 304, which we did cover on this channel. Just type in Spawn 304, and I can also put the link in description too if you like. And if I forget to do so with the upload of this video, comment below, I will put the link in there my damn self and I'll pin it to the top. So the High Priest continued, York must have held back a small sliver of his energy from us, then finally amassed enough of it to escape from us and into you. But I've gone too far, forgive me, it's time to cut open your head and let us remove your brain. So Cardinal Vignola the High Priest is warned that the dead zones have opened, and those with powers from heaven and hell, they're now reactivated and they're on the floor out there doing the damn thing. And the High Priest like, say no more, we'll leave Mr. Rosen. As it appears, I must depart. Fate has granted you a reprieve for now, but let me leave you with this warning. Never forget what these Spawn creatures are. Who gave them their powers? Hell means to dominate us all. More important, now that we know John of York hides in you, if he does so again and you let him, we'll behead you at that exact moment. And this freaks Mark out. So back on the dance floor where the battle was happening, the Viscerator is about to viscerate. It wasn't enough that they had to fight an insanely powerful Viscerator. They also had to deal with their hood priest that she reanimated, little buglings that she could just, create, and it's more than to fight. But bringing them back as her monstrous servants, and they're just pissed that they have to do all this right now. So She-Spawn asks Kilgore for help, and Kilgore's like, I can't. I drained too much of my energy trying to access this place. So Redeemer has to step it up, and Redeemer's like, fine by me. And he blasts off all this energy, disintegrating them. So Redeemer tells She-Spawn to turn away and close her eyes so you don't see none of this smoke, because it ain't directed at you, but I don't want you to see all this. So Viscerator gets all pissed, like, my children, you've killed them, but more shall come. And then She-Spawn gets on top of her back, not like that, and she tells her, then after we kill you, we'll get to kill those too. And she decapitates her head using them chains. And She-Spawn's like, yeah, I cut off her head, so what? But I've learned never to get cocky when you're dealing with anything from the bowels of hell. They seem to exist with their own set of rules, including how or when they survive or not. It's so you can't take anything for granted over here. So in this case, she quickly regenerated herself, leaving She-Spawn asking herself, can this damn thing even be killed? But Redeemer knows one thing, it can't regrow itself if there's nothing left to regrow. And he blasts off with another energy blast, and that is a sick panel right there. So after that, the smoke settles and everyone's like, yo man, can we become channel members of RatedComics.com? Can we buy this brother some coffee? What? I will not be opposed to coffee, but one thing I'm definitely not opposed to, if you like and subscribe to Rated Comics YouTube channel. But we're gonna get right back into it. So Kilgore asks if she's dead, and She-Spawn's like, who knows? But it's gone for now, and for now, we will take that. I will retrieve Rosen back over there. Kilgore, salvage what you can of Overkill, because Overkill's there too, and Redeemer, see if he can free Medieval Spawn from those shackles. And Redeemer's like, okay, once we do all that, then what? Then we can go home, says She-Spawn. So later on, the Scorched headquarters, Kilgore asks Jessica Priest if she wants to grab some beers with them. They want to relax and unwind, and Redeemer tells Daniel, look, man, leave her alone. I think she wants to be left alone. I don't think she feels like celebrating much, and she's looking at a picture on her phone. We're going to tie it back to the beginning of the issue because she throws that picture up against the fireplace, shattering the glass, and what she wanted was, more than anything, all she asked for was a normal life that she is deprived of, because having no powers gave her that semblance of a potential normal life. But once she's part of that life, you're part of that life, bruh. And that is it. That is it for the Scorched. Issue number 38, where the Scorched have returned, so have their powers, and the Viscerator revenge was unleashed. But it didn't last very long, kind of like the pump and dump on prom night or something like that. But what you guys think in the comic book, comment below, let me know. Also, link in description if you wish to add this comic book and or any of our other limited print Rated Comic exclusives to add to your comic book collection. Support the art, support the industry. And with all that being said, thank you again for watching. Until the next upload.